14 years was worth the long wait to see The Incredibles hit the big screen again, and this time around, Pixar went all out with their visual gags, action scenes, and creative moments. Between all of the explosions and Jack-Jack's impressive range of powers, there are a wide range of small details you probably missed. Let's dive right in and recap them all! Before you watch, click subscribe. You'll join our notification squad and be the first to know of new Screen Rant content.
I want to be normal. The only normal one is Jack-Jack, and he's not even toilet trained.
Enter the Poltergeist. In The Incredibles 2, we learn Jack-Jack has a grand total of 17 powers. A majority of these powers were used in his epic battle with a raccoon, while others were showcased during Mr. Incredible's time while taking care of his infant son. Between flame powers and laser beam eyes, one of the more unique powers was Jack-Jack's ability to literally disappear while still being heard. It seemed as if Jack-Jack entered another realm within the family home and could easily navigate back and forth between the worlds. If you're a horror movie fan, then it probably sounds all too familiar to the classic story of the Poltergeist. A special power Jack-Jack had wasn't used as just a horror movie homage. Bob Parr is voiced by Craig T. Nelson, the same actor who had a starring role in The Poltergeist. The original film was made 36 years ago and still holds up as one of the great horror movies and one of Craig T. Nelson's most popular roles. The moment in the movie comes and goes pretty quick, but it would be interesting to see the family take on some of the similar monsters and creatures found in the other side, just like in the Poltergeist movie.
See?
Watching TV. The Incredibles takes place in the mid-1960s, as seen through set designs, decor, and color schemes. If the setting and clothing weren't enough, the film takes things one step further with some classic television references from the 1960s as well. The creative minds behind Pixar could have easily come up with fictional shows to showcase on the Par's television, but they decided to take a real piece of pop culture instead. Real television shows were used on the TV, representing some of the most popular hits from the 1960s. The first TV show showcased on the television was The Outer Limits. The anthology show featured tales of science fiction and terror in a similar style to The Twilight Zone. The show first premiered in 1963 and had a remake in the 1990s. The second show featured on their television was the classic cartoon Jonny Quest. The action-adventure series followed a family who went on adventures in very similar vein to the Incredible family. Jonny Quest first premiered in 1964, putting The Incredibles 2 set any time between 1964 and 1965, unless the family happens to watch reruns of both shows. The quick moments help make the family feel more real and grounded as we watch their animated adventures unfold on the big screen.
Look, I'm the Dash. The Dash Light.
Classic Batman. After the 2004 release of the first Incredibles movie, there was an explosion of superhero films. On the DC side, we got to see the whole Dark Knight trilogy and the launch of the DCEU. On Marvel's side, we got to enjoy Iron Man, the MCU, and 3 Avengers films featuring some of the most popular heroes of all time. While there was plenty of material to take homages and parodies from, The Incredibles 2 pretty much stuck in their own lane when it came to superheroes. Out of all the new superhero content available, Brad Bird and the filmmakers decided to focus on the classic Batman show from the 1960s and starring Adam West. There were multiple homages to the campy classics scattered throughout The Incredibles 2. One of the more obvious were the flashback scenes where homeowners would use their special hero telephones to contact someone when they were in need. The big red phone were a direct homage to Batman's red phone he used for emergencies in the series. And the scenes where Elastigirl emerges from the secret hideout on her motorcycle are extremely similar to the way Batman and Robin drive out of their Batcave in the classic Batmobile.
We appreciate what you did in the old days, but those days are over. From now on, you're on your own.
Ghostbusters. When there's something strange in Incredibles 2, who you gonna reference? Ghostbusters. That's right, The Incredibles 2 has a clever little Ghostbusters reference for huge fans of the original franchise. While we wish it was Jack-Jack taking on Slimer, this reference comes in the form of some similar sounding dialogue. In Incredibles 2, Elastigirl manages to catch the Screenslaver, but he turns out to be nothing but an ordinary pizza delivery worker. Not convinced he is the real Screenslaver, Evelyn tells her that even Einstein was a patent clerk. If the random tidbit and quote sounded familiar, it's because nearly the exact same line was used in the original Ghostbusters movie starring Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. In Ghostbusters, Ray and Peter discuss losing jobs, and Peter uses the Einstein fact to try and convince him everything will be okay. And of course, things do work out in the end as the duo teams up with some friends to form the Ghostbusters we know and love. Maybe Disney will acquire the Ghostbusters at some point in the future and mix the franchise into the Disney animation fold or even the MCU. We've seen stranger things happen. Up in the clouds. With 14 years between movies, Pixar and digital animation has gone through many changes and impressive upgrades. In The Incredibles 2, a whole new system was created for more realistic hair. The costumes look more detailed, and explosions feel more real than ever. From start to finish, The Incredibles 2 is a visual treat with some of the best animation we've seen from Pixar. Not only did the movie create a lot of their own animation, but the animators drew inspiration from other Pixar films. One area where you can see their influence is in the clouds. And no, we're not talking about one of the planes Elastigirl flies in the movie. We're talking about the literal clouds. The clouds used in Incredibles 2 were taken directly from The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur may not have been Pixar's biggest hit, but the film had truly spectacular animation, something that stuck with the same animators working on The Incredibles 2. If you match cloud shots, you will notice a lot of similarities as the clouds add a nice beauty and depth to any exterior scene. Something as insignificant as clouds may not seem like a big deal, but it's all these little details that help make the movie look and feel so authentic.
Ow! Violet, it's not my fault!
A date at the movies. After dealing with anxiety and shyness in her social life, Violet finally gets her happy ending in a form of a date near the end of Incredibles 2. While many will be watching Violet get close to her date, others will be checking out the movie marquee and the film they are going to see. The fictional film title actually has two Easter egg connections, one that has to do with a classic Pixar Easter egg and another with popular films of the 1960s. The numbers in the film title, Dementia A113, refers to the classic Pixar A113 Easter egg. This is the number of a classroom located at the California Institute of Arts. The classroom was a popular place for many of Pixar's early animators, as they learned digital animation and the skills needed to make the company what it is today. Other film companies like Lucasfilms have also used the A114 Easter egg in several movies. The dementia part of the movie title refers to the classic horror film Dementia 13. Originally released in 1963, the movie fits perfectly into the Incredibles 2 timeline. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, Dementia 13 is a classic horror slasher with a mystery killer who is not revealed until the end. The film is probably a little intense for a young Violet, but she has taken on some of the world's biggest villains, so a fictional horror film shouldn't be too hard.
Bon voyage.
Mais c'est incroyable!
And Incrediboy!
Saving the train. As Elastigirl attempts to redeem the public image of superheroes, one of the biggest steps she takes is a moment where she must stop a high-speed train from going off the rails. The train scene is intense and makes the most of her stretching ability as she reaches outward and tries to slow the train down. If the action scene felt similar, it is a direct from another classic superhero film, Spider-Man 2. In Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock sends a train to its ultimate death, and it's up to Peter Parker and his spider webs to stop it. Spider-Man launches out a series of anchoring webs and uses all his strength to slow the train down. The intense final moments are extremely similar to Elastigirl's rescue scene. The connection is even stronger because both The Incredibles and Spider-Man 2 came out in 2004. Whether the homage and matching release years were in tension remains to be seen. Another similar scene takes place in Spider-Man Homecoming, but this time the train is replaced with a large ferry getting split in half. The classic scene is a great way to show off their powers and determination to save everyone at all costs.
Edna mode. And gas.
Jack Jack and Mozart. As Jack Jack reveals all of his powers, a lot of them seem pretty random and crazy. There are some moments which become a lot more intense than others. If you pay close attention, there may be a special trigger to these out-of-control powers. The trigger is not cookies or tantrums, but in fact the classical music composer, Mozart. In The Incredibles 2, Edna Mode talks about how much Jack Jack reacts to Mozart, clearly in a negative way. The reference has a direct connection to the Incredibles short film Jack Jack Attack. While Jack Jack is being babysat, Baby Mozart music is used in an attempt to help calm him and keep him distracted. Once the Mozart is used, you see Jack Jack's complete opposite reaction to the music as he erupts into flames, turns into a little monster, and surely gives the babysitter a run for her money. The same Mozart connection in The Incredibles 2 is a great way to connect the movies and showcase ways Jack Jack uses his crazy collection of powers. Thankfully, Edna was able to make a suit to help control them. Can you imagine the baby's crazy reaction with him getting on an elevator while Mozart is playing? The opening scenes. Despite the 14-year difference, The Incredibles 2 picks up right where the film left off. Literally. After Dash's second-place finish in the track meet, the family gets confronted by an evil villain known as the Underminer. Does he sound familiar? If you've seen any other Pixar film, then you know why. The Underminer is played by none other than John Ratzenberger. The famed star of Cheers voices a character in each movie and reprised his role as the Underminer for The Incredibles 2. Of course, the Underminer is a great comic book homage to Marvel. The Mole Man is a classic Marvel Comics villain who appeared in the very first Fantastic Four comic book. Of course, the powers of the Parr family have often been compared to the Fantastic Four, making the use of the Underminer even more fitting. While there is no post-credits scene in The Incredibles 2, the Underminer does make a brief return through a short animation showing the villain tunneling with his giant machine. If The Incredibles comes back for a second sequel, you can expect to hear John Ratzenberger and see the Underminer battle with the family of heroes once more. Maybe this time the family will be strong enough to finally defeat him.
Honey!
What?
Where's my super suit?
Wow, there you have it. What was your favorite part about The Incredibles 2? What was your favorite Easter egg? Is there anything we missed? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Screen Rant on YouTube so you can stay up to date with our awesome videos. Thanks for watching.